Hey, breaking Jets news. We found our next general manager, Darren Mougey, assistant, or I should say, former assistant general manager of the Denver Broncos. Here we go. 39 years old. It's official. It's locked in. Darren Mougey, Aaron Glenn. This is the new era of New York Jets football. Man, I'm excited. So Mougey's coming in from that scouting background, right? Obviously taking over with the Denver Broncos back in 2012. This is someone who worked his way up from within the organization and was a part of different regimes and saw a lot of different football, right? This is someone who saw a Super Bowl championship, but he's also seen a lot of losing post Super Bowl, right? When the Broncos were cycling through those different coaches, lots of swing and misses at the quarterback position, but it really feels like the Broncos right now with George Payton, again, Darren Mougey as assistant general manager, and then Sean Payton as head coach. It really feels like that trio kind of righted the ship. Denver's obviously back in the playoffs. Their defense is so fun to watch. It's actually my favorite defense in the National Football League, right? Just from a schematic standpoint, from an effort standpoint. I love how that defense plays as a unit, and it's filled with a bunch of, guys that aren't how should I say this? They're not superstars. They're not just, begging free agents to come and throwing out these big splashy free agent contracts. No, that Denver Broncos team is, it's a perfect example of draft and develop, right? Even the quarterback, right? Bo Nix, a lot of the star players on this Denver Broncos team, they're either diamonds in the rough or they were just drafted by the Broncos initially. And obviously, as assistant general manager, Mougey deserves credit there. Now, one thing I wonder about, Darren Mougey obviously coming in from the Denver Broncos, working directly with Sean Payton. Who is the coach that Aaron Glenn really started turning heads, really started making a name for himself in the coaching world with? It was Sean Payton. I wonder, right? Because it kind of felt like Aaron Glenn, right? If you take all 15 general manager candidates, all 16 head coaching candidates, threw them all together, right? Just had a massive massive list of names. It really felt like from the beginning, Aaron Glenn was the Jets guy. Now, of course, we had the whole Mike Vrabel situation, but that aside, him going to New England was just so obvious from the beginning. Everyone called it. But again, outside of Vrabel, it really felt like it was Glenn's job to lose. Then you factor in all the different reports about how Aaron Glenn really liked the Jets job, was really interested in it. There was just tons of reports coming out about it, and turns out they were all true. My initial thought process was, okay, Chris Spielman, Lance Newmark, potentially Brian Gain, three guys that have direct ties to Aaron Glenn, right? It would be a nice transition for this Jets team to add someone with, that chemistry or synergy with AG, someone who's worked with him before. But even though Darren Mougey is clearly been with the Denver Broncos his entire executive career, he's worked with Sean Payton. So it makes me wonder, was there any communication between those two, right? Did Darren Mougey float out the idea? Did he ask Sean Payton, hey, Aaron Glenn, you've worked with Aaron Glenn, you gave him an opportunity as defensive back coach over in New Orleans. What do you make of him? How do you feel about this? Do you think this is a good job? Am I setting myself up for failure going to the New York Jets, a team that is, kind of labeled by the national media as just a complete dumpster fire? I would assume Sean Payton gave him the green light, because if he didn't, and hey, you're making a complete mistake here. You got a sweet gig. You're 39. You're already the assistant general manager of a playoff Broncos team. It doesn't really feel like we're slowing down anytime soon. We're just continuing to churn in the right direction. It leads me to believe that Sean Payton probably looked at the Jets and looked at Aaron Glenn, looked at what obviously he's done in Detroit, and said, you know what, you'd be a good fit. You'd be a good fit over there. Go out and take the promotion. Go out and take the money, the big contract, and everything. Go make it happen. So absolutely crazy stuff here. But we have our new regime. The elephant in the room. First year head coach in AG. First year general manager in Darren Mougey. I know that's not really ideal in a lot of people's eyes. It's not really ideal in my eyes, if I'm being 100% transparent. I think the Jets should take a very hard look at signing or hiring a president of football operations. Go out and spend the money. Go out and add someone who's been around the game for a long, long time, preferably a former general manager, right? Someone who's either been around Aaron Glenn, someone who's been around Darren Mougey, someone who's been around the New York Jets, someone like that can just kind of oversee the process. So if things start to get off the rails, because we do have to talk about this power structure setup. Is Glenn and Mougey going to both report to Woody Johnson on like the same level? Is it Glenn having more power than Mougey because he was technically hired first and he's the Jets guy? And, did Aaron Glenn pick out Darren Mougey? Lots of questions here. Obviously, the Jets didn't hire Mougey first. It wasn't their first choice because Lance Newmark was brought in, right? And that kind of felt very like it was on the 5-yard line. At least that's how like the beat reporters made it out to be. I felt it kind of leads me to believe that if the Jets truly had Darren Mougey as the number one general manager candidate, then it would have been, the three of them, Trey Brown, Mougey, and Newmark, being brought in all together or on like back-to-back days or something to really iron out the process and give everyone a fair crack, not Newmark first, where he's coming to the facility and it just feels like something's going to happen and then it doesn't. And then all of a sudden, boom, Trey Brown and Mougey pop up or pop back up for second interviews. So we'll see how this thing plays out. Ideally, a president of football ops, because of the inexperience at general manager and head coach, I think is ideal. I don't think I'm asking for too much here. I know there's been a lot of Jets fans that have been clamoring, hey, maybe this is a good idea to kind of add one more buffer in between the front office and ownership. I think that would be a smart, calculated move on the part of the New York Jets. That's kind of like a forward-thinking approach and a how should I say this? Kind of like a look in the mirror moment for Woody Johnson. You know what? We got to switch things up here. This solid Joe Douglas thing, it didn't work out. McCagnon, Bowles didn't work out. Adam Gase didn't work out in between them. Rex Ryan obviously let go. We got to shake things up here. Let's do things a little bit differently than we've done in the past. An experience at head coach and experience at general manager. If we just leave it like this, of course, I'm going to support everyone here. But I do think it would be smart to add that third party that sits above them. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. Darren Mougey, welcome to the squad, man. Welcome to the squad. I cannot wait for the press conference. I think Aaron Glenn is going to hit an absolute home run. It's going to be so much fun to watch. Anyway, thanks a lot. And as always, go Jets.